the one thing I can say upon being incarcerated, because I don't know what most people's journey was when they got locked up, but what mine was, I actually had to turn myself in. Okay. That was the biggest. That was the biggest thing I've ever did in my life that I felt was the hardest at the same time, because you actually have to go turn yourself into prison.
Right.
Imagine walking down that road.
Right.
And my family took me there. We traveled together. We took that journey up to Montgomery, Alabama.
Okay.
At Maxwell Air Force Base.
Right.
And as I was turning myself in, it was just a overwhelming experience. It was, I can't even describe how I was feeling at that time. So emotional. But as I'm getting out the car and I'm hugging my kids and I'm hugging my wife, and I'll never forget these words. I told all of them, I looked them in their eyes and I said, be the best that you can be. Be the best that you can be. And I walked through those gates. And being mindful, brother, as I think about it now, I was in prison way before I went to prison.
Right. How so? What do you mean by that?
Mentally. I wasn't free. I wasn't free here. I wasn't free in my mind. And a lot of people don't understand that. I didn't go to prison for what I got caught for.
Right.
I went to prison for all the other things. I was already in prison. Why? Because I was locked in a certain mindset.
Right.
Prison is a mindset.
Ain't no question.
I was locked in a certain mindset that I thought was freedom, and it wasn't.
Right.
It wasn't. I had to identify with who Jermaine was. I had to find out who Jermaine was. I had to actually kill the identity of what I became that put me in prison.
I'm glad you said it. And to that point, as you were speaking,
yes,
just a few minutes ago, you mentioned that you and I, and so many of us, ended up in prison because we were out there, we was on the money chase.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And that's a certain mindset.
That's it.
Right?
That's a mindset.
And I know that you also mentioned that, I just saw in some earlier notes before we had this interview that when you go to prison, you gotta kill a portion of yourself in order to really find yourself.
That's it.
Tell us about that. And, did that take place with you before you actually went to prison? Because you said you had to turn yourself in.
Yeah.
Did you already start thinking in that direction before you even got to prison?
No, I had no idea. I didn't even know what that process was. I didn't even know. I was numb, because one thing I can say, I was immature of the identity of what a real man was. And this goes back and as I was speaking and as before some of the notes that you have, it goes back to fathers.
There you go.
The absence, man. I cannot stress that any father, that with the absence of men not having their fathers, the decisions that we make put us in the places that we were in.
Right.
Because you don't have guidance. You don't have someone to have that voice of reasoning. Okay, you have people that are in your life, and I'm not making an excuse for you making those wrong decisions, but it is very, very important to have guidance, to have someone that was in your ear when you was making the wrong decisions.
Right.
Okay. Now, when I said I had to kill that person that I had developed over the years,
right,
that got me incarcerated, I didn't even know who the hell he was until I was able to identify him
right
in prison.
Right.
Because the one thing that I know, when you're in prison and you're against that wall and you sleeping by yourself at night, you dealing with you.
Every night.
Every night.
Yeah.
And as you're dealing with you start peeling away the layers. And then saying, oh, okay, I see you now. You're that guy. You're the one that made those decisions. You're the one that made me where I'm at right now.
Right.
I need to kill you. I need to put you to rest. And it's not one person that I've met that was lacking education, passion, or some of the other characteristics that make them great. It was their decision making. It was the living in what the world thought they should be,
right.
or who they thought they should be on the streets, or those certain images that we quote unquote glorify
right.
on the streets.
Right.
That's what it was.
Right.
It wasn't the man. That's the side that I'm saying I was in prison before I went to prison.
Right.
Why? Because I'm getting money, and what am I doing with the money? I'm living and glorifying the things that put me in prison.
You're gonna come out bitter or better.
That's when I started killing J-Fly.
Okay.
That's when it started. The day that I walked into that Montgomery Air Force Base, I started preparing his funeral. That's
what's up.
You know what I mean? Because I said at this time, I'm 35, 37 years old, somewhere in that area. And I'm like, look, man, how I get this at this age and making these mistakes? At this age, I should be set. Feet should be on the ground. Should have some stability in my life. I'm 37 years old. What are we doing?
Right.
You're still in the mindset of a child.
Right. I got a family.
But I'm still in the mindset of going to the clubs and smoking and throwing up the bottles and
right.
throwing money away like it's easy to get.
Right.
Prison mindset before you even in prison.
That's right.
A lot of guys in prison right now, they don't even know it.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a clue.
There's more people in mental prisons than physically incarcerated.
This is a fact, brother.
Right.
This is a fact.